Hi everyone, this is Warren. Welcome to Dynasty Decoded. Last time, we talked about how you took over the flood control project. Not long after you and his companions set out on their journey, they were approached by a group of strangers. "Are you Wenming?" one of them asked. You nodded. "Yes, I am. May I ask?" Before he could finish, the men interrupted with visible relief. "Wonderful, we've finally found you. You know Elder Yahuwah, don't you? He asked us to deliver this letter into your hands." At the mention of his former teacher, Yu's face lit up. He eagerly broke the seal and unfolded the letter. Yahuwah wrote that the flood control manual he had once promised now awaited you in a place called Mount Wanwei. It had been placed inside a jade casket hidden somewhere on the mountain. If you truly intended to undertake the task of controlling the floods, Yahuwah advised him to retrieve the manual before beginning his work. You did not hesitate. "If this is my teacher's advice," he said to his companions, "then Mount Wanwei shall be our first destination." The search proved far more difficult than anyone had imagined. Mount Wanwei was immense. For 14 consecutive days, Yu and his party searched its valleys, cliffs, and forests, yet nowhere could they find the jade casket Yahuwah had described. At last, Yu began to wonder whether the time simply was not right. "Perhaps I am not yet destined to find it," he thought. "Perhaps I should return another day." After all, the work of controlling the floods could not be postponed indefinitely. Turning to his companions, he said, "We'll search for 3 more days. If we still find nothing, we leave for the flood works." That night, Yu had a dream. A divine figure appeared before him and spoke. You seek the jade casket by the wrong method, and at the wrong time. It is no ordinary container. It is a sacred vessel. If you truly wish to find it, you must first purify yourself. Fast. Bathe. Approach it with reverence. Then come at the hour I have shown you. Only then will the jade casket reveal itself." When Yu awoke, he followed the instructions exactly as they had been given in the dream. He fasted. He purified himself. Then, at the appointed time, he returned to the mountain. This time, the impossible happened. The jade casket appeared before him. Yu carefully opened its lid. Inside lay an extraordinary volume. Its pages were fashioned from gold. Its edges were bound in silver. Opening the book, Yu soon realized that it was no ordinary manuscript. It had been compiled in the age of the Yellow Emperor himself. Within its pages was a remarkably detailed survey of the mountains, rivers, valleys, and waterways of the entire realm. For the first time, Yu possessed a comprehensive guide to the landscape he hoped to transform. Yet the book was not the casket's only treasure. Resting beside it were 2 ceremonial jade tablets. One crimson, the other emerald green. These sacred objects, known as kui, immediately caught Yu's attention. They must be treasures as well, he thought. He picked them up and examined them carefully. They were beautifully crafted, but beyond their exquisite workmanship, he could not determine what made them extraordinary. Just as he was about to return them to the casket, something astonishing happened. Without warning, his vision changed. Suddenly, you could see beneath the earth itself. Hidden rivers. Underground channels. The invisible paths along which water flowed beneath mountains and plains. It was as though his eyes had been granted divine sight. The mysteries concealed beneath the land now lay open before him. With such a gift, Yu's confidence grew stronger than ever. Having received his teacher's long-promised gifts, Yu and his companions departed Mount Wanwei and resumed their journey. Before long, another remarkable encounter awaited them. A woman appeared before the expedition, introducing herself as Lady Yunhua, daughter of the Queen Mother of the West. She presented Yu with 3 volumes devoted to the art of flood control, together with a collection of sacred talismans. "These are divine registers," she explained. "Whenever you need assistance, invoke the deities whose names are written upon them. They will answer your call and aid you in controlling the floods." Yu accepted the gifts with profound gratitude. Once again, heaven itself seemed to be placing powerful allies at his side. After thanking Lady Yunhua, the expedition continued onward. Eventually, they reached the place where Yu intended to begin his work. Gathering Haoji and Yi, Yu unfolded the plan he had spent years developing while surveying the empire. He described not merely individual engineering projects, but an entire vision for reshaping the waterways of the realm. The ultimate objective, he explained, is to release the waters of the mountain sea. Only then can the floods truly be brought to an end. But if all that water is released at once, it would unleash an even greater catastrophe downstream. So before we open the source, we must first prepare the land below. You pointed across the landscape. Our first task is to excavate 9 major river channels. When the waters of the mountain sea are finally released, these rivers will divide the flow. They will disperse its force. And only then can the floods be brought under control. With that command, work officially began. The greatest flood control project in ancient legend had finally begun. The story of Yu the Great's conquest of the floods had truly begun. The first phase of Yu's plan was clear. Before anything else, his engineers excavated 2 great waterways, one at the southern boundary and one at the northern edge of the project. These would define the limits of the entire flood control system. Yet before either channel was completed, disaster struck. Dark clouds rolled across the sky. A violent storm erupted, the sea itself surged inland, sending waves crashing over the unfinished earthworks. You immediately knew this was no ordinary storm. Some supernatural force was interfering with the project. Without wasting a moment, he drew out one of the sacred talismans Lady Yunhua had given him. Following the incantation she had taught him, he invoked Yuxiao, the god of the eastern sea. The sea god appeared at once. He possessed the face of a man but the body of a great bird. Beneath his feet coiled 2 yellow serpents, while another pair hung from his ears like ornaments. His appearance was as awe-inspiring as it was unsettling. Yu quickly explained what had happened and asked for his aid. After listening patiently, Yuxiao nodded. This disturbance is the work of 2 lesser demons, he said. One is called Tianwu. The other is Wangxiang. Tianwu has the body of a tiger, 8 heads, 8 legs, and 10 tails. Wangxiang is red from head to toe, save for his green face. They are troublesome, but hardly beyond my ability. Leave them to me. Without another word, Yuxiao summoned Yinglong the divine dragon who had fought in the legendary battle of Zhuelu and, because of the wounds he suffered there, had never returned to heaven. At Yuxiao's command, Yinglong plunged into the raging waters. Moments later, the 2 monsters burst from the depths. The instant Tianwu and Wangxiang recognized Yuxiao, they knew they had no chance of victory. They turned and fled. Yuxiao merely smiled. With effortless grace, he released the 2 little yellow serpents hanging from his ears. In midair, they transformed into enormous golden dragons. Within moments, the fleeing monsters were captured. Their resistance ended almost as quickly as it had begun. Once the battle was over, Yuxiao turned to you. These 2 have crossed paths with me by fate. I'll take them back and guide them in cultivation. You expressed his heartfelt gratitude. With that, the sea god departed, taking the 2 subdued demons with him. Construction resumed. The northern and southern channels were nearing completion when another challenge emerged. Defining the project's outer boundaries had been relatively simple. Determining the exact locations, widths, and depths of the remaining 7 rivers was far more difficult. A single miscalculation could prove disastrous. If the channels were too narrow or placed incorrectly, then when the waters of the mountain sea were finally released, they could overflow and devastate countless communities downstream. Yi considered the problem before speaking. Perhaps Yinglong can help us. He is a master of the waters. If anyone can foresee how the currents will flow, it would be him. Perhaps he can determine the courses of the remaining rivers. You agreed. He sought out Yinglong once more and explained the dilemma. The dragon readily accepted. Soaring high into the sky, Yinglong descended upon the plain. Then, using his immense body, he swept across the earth again and again. Wherever he passed, deep furrows appeared across the landscape. These became the outlines of 7 future river channels. Thus was born the famous legend of Yinglong drawing rivers upon the earth. With the courses now established, the remaining work became far more straightforward. You instructed the workers to deepen and widen the channels exactly as Yinglong had traced them. While the laborers continued their excavation, Yu, Yi, and Haoji pressed farther upstream. As they traveled westward, they came upon an enormous ancient tomb. Curious, you ask several nearby villagers whose resting place it was. It belongs to Feng Hao, they replied. The great minister who served the Yellow Emperor. You paused. If we have come this far, he said, then we should pay our respects. The party offered sacrifices before continuing their journey. They had not gone far when an elderly voice called after them. Wenming, wait. Please, wait. You turned around. Elder, he asked politely, is there something I can help you with? The old man smiled. You've forgotten me already. You invited me to dinner only moments ago. You looked completely puzzled. I don't recall inviting anyone. The old man laughed. I am Feng Hao. Weren't you just paying your respects at my tomb? For a brief moment, everyone froze. They all understood exactly what they were looking at. A ghost. Seeing their expressions, the old man frowned. How rude. What an uncultured group. When the Yellow Emperor ascended to heaven, I ascended with him. I'm an immortal, not a ghost. The embarrassment was immediate. After a moment, Feng Hao turned back to you. Wenming. You're on your way to control the floods, aren't you? Yes, you replied. Then why are you traveling east? You should be heading west. You explained his reasoning. The mountains to the east are lower. They're within our ability to cut through. But to the west stands mighty Mount Hua. With the manpower I have now, opening a passage through that mountain is impossible. So I chose the eastern route instead. Feng Hao smiled knowingly. If your goal is truly to solve the problem, then solve it completely. As for Mount Hua, opening it isn't difficult at all. In fact, you won't need an army. One person is enough. You blinked in disbelief. One person. That's right, Feng Hao replied. Only one. Don't concern yourself with how long it will take. My greater concern is the opposite. If the mountain is opened too quickly, the waters will rush through all at once. And that could unleash another catastrophic flood downstream. You remained silent, unable to make sense of what he had heard. Seeing the confusion on his face, Feng Hao smiled once more. Don't trouble yourself over it now. Finish excavating the 9 rivers downstream first. Then return to Mount Hua. When you come back, you'll understand exactly what I mean. One man could open Mount Hua. What could Feng Hao possibly have meant, and was the immortal truly offering guidance, or leading you toward another mystery altogether, and how will this story unfold? You'll have to wait until next time to find out. Thanks for coming to my show. I hope you enjoyed today's story. See you next time.